Hello and welcome to this first video on a read-through of the Bible. So I'm going to do a quick introduction in this video that I won't do in the other videos, just because this is the very first one. So I'm going to read through one chapter in each video, and then I am a believer, and I wasn't always, I grew up in the church and then I went away from the faith and I came back, but I'm also a layman, so I don't have any formal education, I'm not a pastor or anything. But at the end of each video, I will give a few opinions on what I've just read, or a few of my thoughts. And what you're looking at on the screen is my own website. So I have a personal website where I just put little projects that I like to do. You'll see in the top left, I've got a math up here. That's because I have a background in mathematics and I've created math lessons. I've got this section called graphs where I have a little graph theory program that I've used for different applications, and there are some games you can play, nothing too sophisticated, but I have created a few games as well. So if you want to go mess around with the other parts of the website, feel free to do so. It will say that there's an area where you can log in and create accounts. You don't need to do that for most things. Some of the games you'd have to have an account to play the games. But on this part, under the faith part of the website, you can see it's not got a very good user interface yet, but here's all the books of the Bible. You can click whatever one you want to go to, and then it'll bring up the chapter list. You just click a chapter. So if I wanted to go to Genesis 13, I would click on that one, and then you click go, and it takes you to that chapter. And this was originally a project to do a sermon Bible, which I'm still a work in progress. I'm still working on it. If you go there though and you click on any black text, then a window will pop up and it will bring you to sermons that talk about that text or include that text in the sermon. Sometimes the sermons are very heavily about that text, sometimes they're just mentioned, and the sermon might be an hour long, so it does vary quite a bit. Anyway, that's what's going on here, and let me go ahead and start reading through the Bible with Genesis 1. At the first God made the heaven and the earth was waste and without form, and it was dark on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was moving on the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God, looking on the light, saw that it was good, and God made a division between the light and the dark, naming the light day and the dark night, and there was evening and there was morning the first day. And God said, "Let there be a solid arch over the waters, parting the waters from the waters." And God made the arch for a division between the waters which were under the arch and those which were over it. And it was so. And God gave the arch the name of Heaven, and there was evening and there was morning the second day. And God said, "Let the waters under the heaven come together in one place, and let the dry land be seen." And it was so. And God gave the dry land the name of earth, and the waters together in their place were named the seas. And God saw that it was good. And God said, "Let grass come up on the earth, and plants producing seed, and fruit trees giving fruit, and which is their seed, after their sort." And it was so. And grass came up on the earth, and every plant producing seed of its sort, and every tree producing fruit, and which is its seed, of its sort. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning the third day. And God said, "Let there be lights on the arch of heaven, for a division between the day and the night, and let them be for signs, and for making the changes of the year, and for days and for years. And let them be for lights in the arch of heaven, to give light on the earth." And it was so. And God made the two great lights, the greater light to be the ruler of the day, and the smaller light to be the ruler of the night. And he made the stars, and God put them in the arch of heaven, to give light on the earth, to have rule over the day and the night, and for a division between the light and the dark. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning the fourth day. And God said, "Let the waters be full of living things, and let birds be in flight over the earth under the arch of heaven." And God made great sea beasts, and every sort of living and moving thing with which the waters were full, and every sort of winged bird. And God saw that it was good. And God gave them his blessing, saying, "Be fertile and have increase, making all the waters of the seas full, and let the birds be increased in the earth." And there was evening and there was morning the fifth day. And God said, "Let the earth give birth to all sorts of living things, cattle and all things moving on the earth, and beasts of the earth after their sort, And it was so. And God made the beast of the earth after its sort, and the cattle after their sort, and everything moving on the face of the earth after its sort. And God saw that it was good. And God said, Let us make man in our image, like us, and let him have rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every living thing which goes flat on the earth. And God made man in his image. In the image of God he made him. Male and female he made them. And God gave them his blessing, and said to them, Be fertile, and have increase, and make the earth full, and be masters of it. Be rulers over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over every living thing moving on the earth. And God said, See, I have given you every plant producing seed on the face of the earth, and every tree which has fruit producing seed. They will be for your food. And to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the air, and every living thing moving on the face of the earth, I have given every green plant for food. And it was so. And God saw everything which he had made, and it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day. So, my belief, which is going to be controversial, because if you take any stance on Genesis 1, it's going to be controversial. There's so many different beliefs about this. I think it's a symbolic story. It's I guess to use the term myth, maybe not in the modern sense, but in the C.S. Lewisian sense of the word myth. This isn't a literal telling of how God created the earth. So, for example, he creates the fruit trees giving fruit before he even creates the day and night, which, plants aren't going to be able to survive and give fruit before there's, day and night. So here it is, fruit trees giving fruit here, and then a division between the day and the night is down here. And then he creates these rulers, the greater light to rule the day and the smaller light to rule the night, which we know that's not the case. The sun is the source of light for the day, and the moon is just reflecting the sun, and there's not some other sources of light and dark that are the day and the night, with the sun and moon being some kind of active rulers of the day and night, and so on. So all of this is symbolic, and why is it in the Bible then, and why do I believe in the Bible? Well, I believe there's a lot of good lessons we can learn from this still, even though it's symbolism and not literal facts. So the fact that God created everything, I believe to be true, and that's one thing that we see in this, is that God creates each thing. He goes down a list, and he also says that each of these things is good. So I believe that there was a sense in which God created things, and maybe not even directly, it could be indirectly, he guided things to their creation, and he believes that the way these things were created was good, although you'll see that things, in chapter 2, is it chapter 2 or 3 coming up, they aren't so good for long, because man messes up things. But also we see that man was created in God's image, which I don't believe is a physical creation in his image. I believe that it's a spiritual, our sense of morality and just the way that we think and the way that we're made reflects the way that God thinks and reflects God's morality. And not just men. I mean, this is even emphasized all the way back when the Bible was written, and females were secondary citizens, like second-class citizens in society. It emphasizes that male and female, he made them in his image. So men and women both. And in the end, everything was very good. So those are the main takeaways here, is that God is the initial creator of everything, and he believes that what he created is good, and in particular male and female are created in God's image, and we are masters of the earth, which means that we should be good masters of the earth, and we should be here to take care of the earth. It was given to us by God. It's our responsibility, and you can see what kind of job we're doing of that. So